Hello. Someone sent me a message the other day asking me how I got into real estate stuff. This is the first house I ever bought. When I bought it, I was renting a room for $375 a month and making no money. I bought it on owner financing. Now, if you've studied amortization schedules, you know that on a 30-year or 20-year note, bank note, typically the way people buy houses, the first few years are interest, right? And a 30-year note, if you have a $100,000 house, by the end of, if you carry that note to term, the end of 30 years, you'll pay a whole lot more than $100,000. You pay two and a half times. So that $100,000 house costs you $250,000. So I bought this house for $65,000. You know, it's in the hood. You know, it's in Roughlandia. I mean, look at the neighbor's house. It's a disaster. The neighbor's house is actually absolutely a disaster. This house is a little bit of a disaster, you know. But it was worth about $55,000 at the time when I bought it, and I paid her $65,000. I had her carry the note, and I put some money down, so she carried a note of $57,000, and it was at zero interest. And the zero interest is the way this house worked, because every dollar I paid to her went against principal. I could have paid her $70,000. I could have paid her $75,000. I could have paid her $80,000. I probably could have paid her $90,000 or $100,000. And it would have been better if I had my $50,000 note that I had with interest. If it had just been a typical bank note. You know, commercial notes are in 20-year notes. Okay? Over the course of that 20 years, I would have paid far more than $20,000 or $30,000 or $1,000 in interest if I carried it all the way to term. So through zero interest, I could give her the price she wanted. She asked $65,000 and I offered $65,000, but I told her the only way I could do that was on 0% finance note, and she was happy. You know, she bought the house for $18,000 just a few years prior to that. So she made her money. You know, she made her money, and I made. You know, I was able to pay her back, and it went very well. That note had a balloon. When it came time for that balloon, the value of the house was much higher, and it had appreciated massively. So it appraised at $158. And at that point, I got a bank note, and the bank was willing to give me up to 80% of that. But I didn't want to leverage the house all the way to the hilt, so I didn't borrow all that money. I borrowed a portion of that, as you know, that borrowed money is not taxable. So at the time, I owed her, I think, $52,000 on my note to her, and I think I re-leveraged this house to $90,000. So $90,000 minus $52,000. That amount of money I put in my pocket tax-free. And so that is kind of the story of this house. The story actually gets a little richer because the backyard here is it's zoned to put two houses. So I actually sold the backyard for $60,000. I sold from about there to where I'm standing and over past the car to the fence, all of that for $60,000. So this property was a real pivotal piece for me in the early stages of my career, but owner financing was the start of it all.